What's up everybody, Bloodshed here. Today we're going to look at the Helltooth Witch Doctor for patch 2.4.1. Now this is more of a pet focused build, and just so you know, this is the PTR. Like we always say, things can change. So any updates will be in the description down below, and this is my favorite variation. So we're back here at our little training ground rift area, right? So you're going to come in through the rift, and the first pack of mobs you come across, so like these guys, right? What you're going to do is you're going to drop Wall of Death on top of them, and preferably do it when the cold damage rune like that is procced on your Convention of Elements. And then immediately you're going to use Piranhas. It's going to group them all together, and then I like to put my Gargantuan in between me and them, so it's like a line of defense. And they're going to continuously cleave. They're going to proc our 2 and 4 piece bonuses from Helltooth. 2 and 4 piece bonuses give you Necrosis. So as they hit them, you're getting 60% less damage taken to you, and the enemy is taking 1500% weapon damage every second, and also 20% increased damage from all sources for 10 seconds. So at this point, we come in here, we drop Wall of Death, we cast our Piranhas, and then we make sure the Gargantuans are in between us and our enemy, right? Now we get a buff, so we're going to get 1400 increased damage for 15 seconds. For our Gargantuan, our Piranhas, and all that stuff. So this buff is pretty much active, and you want to keep it up as much as possible. At this point, you know, they're tanking, they're fighting the mobs. You're back here, and what you want to do is you want to cast Haunt. So you cast Haunt on the enemies and poisons them, and they take 20% increased damage from all sources. This is the way I like to play Witch Doctor, right? There's a variation out there that's more popular that uses zombie dogs and leeching beasts. So you're constantly getting healed 100% of your life on hit for every attack. So this is a really popular build, but it's just not as engaging for me. I don't like that kind of gameplay. I like a more active style. You know, like to come in here, drop it on them, group them up, attack them, poison them, and then I can kind of focus fire a little bit. One thing to note, like if you're in the thick of everything and you're fighting, it's okay to recast. Like let's say, because you can't control your Gargantuans, right? So sometimes they're defective and they run left and right, or sometimes they stare at you when you're fighting mobs, like right here, right? So it's okay to, like, you know, reposition, or like, you know, use your Spirit Walk or however you want to reposition yourself and just recast them mid-fight. You know, it's typically a long cooldown, 60 seconds, you know, with no cooldown reduction. But it's okay to recast them as long as you're not in fear of danger, of dying. And it kind of just helps reset the fight, gets the line of defense back, and they pretty much go right back into the thick of it. Sometimes when you're fighting mobs, like you can't see around the corner, like when you play Demon Hunter or something like that. You're here, and then it doesn't render, like it doesn't render behind this wall, so you can't see what kind of affixes are coming after you. But your pets will turn the corner. The pets are kind of trained to go after the enemy. So they'll be down here fighting them, and it's okay for you to kind of cast around the corner and break line of sight so you don't put yourself in a deadly position, and you can just stay back here until it looks like everything's dead. You'll know that everything's pretty much dead when you stop seeing mortars flying, or they come back to you, right? That's kind of a good tactic if you're in danger. It's better to be safe than sorry. Literally all your damage is coming from your pets, most of your damage anyway, so let them do the work and just kick back and cast. So that's pretty much the gameplay of the build and how it works. I'll kind of cover the gear and other combinations. So we're obviously using Gargantuan in this build, and we're going to use him with the cold rune. So it's going to, every attack, the Gargantuan cleave, so it's like an AoE damage, right? And it does it cold damage. And you want to put cold damage on your bracers. And we're using it with Short Man's Finger. So Short Man's Finger takes your Gargantuan, makes them into 3 little Gargantuans, but they're stronger than before. So you kind of have like a line of defense, and they're all affected by Tasker and Theo. So I'll put the Short Man's Finger on here. Boom, he goes away, and you are rewarded with next time you get 3 hulking baby barbarians, or Gargantuans, I guess. We are running the Kitty Mojo. So the Kitty Mojo reduces damage up to, I think it's 100%, 80%. So the first time an enemy deals damage to you, you reduce that damage by up to 80% for 3 seconds and charm the enemy for 3 seconds. So if you get caught out of position and an enemy, lands their ability on you, it's pretty much not going to one-shot you if it's the first time they attack you. If you are running the build we talked about earlier with the zombie dogs instead of Haunt, then it's good to use the Serpent, because you get 30% of the damage you take is redirected to your zombie dog. The Sacred Harvester is pretty amazing. What it does is it takes your Soul Harvest and it stacks it up to 10 times, up from 5. So with Soul Harvest, we're going to use the Cold Rune, and it increases your armor by 10% per harvested enemy. So 10% plus 5 is 50%, but if you have Sacred Harvester, you get 10 stack. What I found is I didn't need that much survivability, so I got to the really high greater rifts, like 75 plus. Then I needed to stack 10 times, but pre-75, with this build, I realized that I didn't really need it, and you can get away with it. So if you don't have an Ancient Sacred Harvester, it's okay to use like a random item that you have that has way more deeps. Convention of Elements, like we talked about earlier. So if you can time, like this is cold right now, boom. If you can time the abilities, then it's really effective. But you don't really want to sacrifice your DPS. But if you know it's coming up, like I know poison's coming up, so then boom, I'll use my poison ability and use it then. So it's good to time it. If you want to be MLG, it really does help. For the belt, I like the String of Ears, but a lot of people use the Witching Hour. It's really a toss-up. I mean, you get the extra damage versus extra survivability. It's definitely up to you. If you find yourself getting one shot more, getting hit more, String of Ears. If you find yourself, not having enough damage to complete the rift, I think it's okay to kind of sacrifice. But you have to make that call based on your character's needs and everything like that. So Lakumbas is also going to help you with the 10 stacks of Soul Harvest. So you're going to reduce all damage taken by 6% for each stack of Soul Harvest you have. So you can see not only do you get more armor, you also get a bigger damage reduction bonus. Obviously rocking a Hellfire Amulet, you want Spirit Vessel with that. A lot of these you can interchange and swap out, but this was my favorite combo altogether. If you ask me, like, this is what you want to roll with all the time. When you finally start pushing Greater Rifts, then you can get a Hellfire Amulet with Spirit Vessel on it. Spirit Vessel is basically like a cheat death cooldown. As far as legendary gems go, Bane of the Trapped is pretty much a must-have in every single build in the game. So the Enforcer gem is another must-have gem. This pretty much is what makes the build even stronger than it was last patch. So this got redesigned, as a lot of you know, and your pets take 90% less damage, and increases the damage of your pets by 30%, and it's multiplicative. So at rank 80, I think 85, it's about 40%. So you can see how it starts to jump 10% every 20 or 30 levels or so. So we're at another crossroads in the build. You've been noticing a trend in my videos. I like to do things like my way and things that I think are fun. So obviously, if you're pushing Greater Rifts, you want to use Bane of the Stricken. If you want to, be rank 1, in Diablo 3, like you need Bane of the Stricken. Like there's pretty much no doubt about it. But unless you're pushing for rank 1, to be honest, like I would roll with Bane of the Powerful. You have more damage reduction, more damage to elites. It's 20% increased damage, like static damage. It's amazing. Like this is the gem that I think you should be using 90% of the time. You should only switch to Stricken when you're like really pushing your character to the limit. You do so much damage to elites as it is with all these damage debuffs. I mean, we have we even have, we're using Haunt in the build, right? So that's an extra 20% you wouldn't have had before, and they just cleave the shit out of Rift Guardians. These 3 guys like absolutely wreck. They're pretty much going to carry you, through the Rift Guardian. But the options there, I can only show you the door. In the cube, I have the Furnace, which is necessary. Like nobody's going to debate that. The Mask of Jeram and Pets deal 100% increased damage, and Ring of the Royal Grandeur allows us to use Tasker and Theo. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's a pretty straightforward build. You just drop your Wall of Death, nuke the shit out of them, and profit. Like it's really strong, easy to play. If you haven't got enough of pets in Season 5, you'll love them for Season 6. They're even better. As with all my builds, they're going to be updated down below in the description. I like to keep my builds updated within the season, so within Season 6 / patch 2.4.1, it's going to be there. It's going to be updated. Alright guys, this is Bloodshed, and I'm out. Peace.